In the year 1462, as Europe trembles under the advance of the Ottoman Empire, a fierce warrior known as Vlad Dracula rides into battle to defend Christendom. He fights not only as a prince, but as a man driven by devotion to God and a love so deep it defines his existence. Before leaving for war, he kneels beside his beloved wife, Elisabetta, swearing eternal loyalty. She gives him her blessing, believing his faith will protect him and bring him safely home. Vlad returns victorious, his enemies crushed, expecting celebration and reunion. Instead, he finds his world shattered. Elisabetta, deceived by false news of his death, has taken her own life, believing her soul lost without him. The Church condemns her act as suicide and declares her damned, denying her burial in holy ground. Vlad's grief transforms into rage. Standing before the cross, he rejects God, condemns the Church for its cruelty, and swears vengeance against heaven itself. In his fury, he drives his sword into the stone cross. Blood pours forth, and he drinks it, renouncing his faith and embracing a dark immortality. Thus, Dracula is born. For centuries later, in Victorian England, Jonathan Harker, a young solicitor, travels to Transylvania to finalize a property transaction with a mysterious nobleman known as Count Dracula. Jonathan leaves behind his fiancée, Mina Murray, promising to return quickly. Mina, practical and gentle, stays with her closest friend, Lucy Westenra, a vibrant young woman admired by many suitors. Jonathan's journey grows unsettling as villagers react with fear to his destination. They give him crucifixes and warnings he does not fully understand. When he reaches Dracula's castle, he is welcomed by the Count himself, a pale and ancient figure with piercing eyes and an unsettling presence. Dracula speaks with unnatural politeness, yet something about him feels deeply wrong. The castle is vast but lifeless, filled with silence and shadows. As days pass, Jonathan realizes he is a PRI. Dracula's presence in London grows stronger and more deliberate. Mina feels both comforted and unsettled by her encounters with him. He listens to her speak of her worries, her loyalty to Jonathan, and her confusion over the strange dreams that now haunt her sleep. To Mina, Dracula seems sorrowful rather than monstrous, a man burdened by centuries of loneliness. She does not yet understand that this gentleness hides a predator's patience. Jonathan returns with Mina to England, but he is not the same man who left. His nights are filled with terror, memories of the castle, and the crawling horror of Dracula's inhuman strength. He struggles to tell Mina the truth, fearing she will think him mad. Van Helsing, however, recognizes Jonathan's symptoms and confirms his darkest fears. Dracula has followed him home. Van Helsing reveals the full truth to Mina. Vampires exist, and Dracula is their master. Mina listens calmly, though her eyes betray fear. She agrees to help, offering her intelligence and strength to the group. Van Helsing warns her that her connection to Dracula may be dangerous, but Mina insists she can endure it. Her resolve impresses the men, even as it alarms them. The group begins hunting Dracula by day, tracking the boxes of Transylvanian soil he shipped to England. These boxes are his lifeline, the only places where he can rest. One by one, they find and destroy them, sanctifying the earth with holy wafers. Dracula responds with fury. He attacks Seward's asylum, killing Renfield, the deranged patient who worships him as a god. Renfield dies begging Mina to save herself, finally understanding the evil he once served. Dracula's rage turns toward Mina. One night, he enters her room, overpowering Jonathan and forcing Mina to drink his blood. He calls it a bond, a union of souls, but Van Helsing recognizes it as a curse. Mina is now connected to Dracula, her mind open to his thoughts, her fate tied to his survival. Dracula escapes before the men can destroy High. The journey through Transylvania grows heavier with every mile. Snow blankets the land, slowing horses and numbing hands, but it is the unseen weight that burdens them most. Mina can feel Dracula more clearly now. His thoughts drift into her mind like distant thunder, full of anger, exhaustion, and an aching pull toward the land of his birth. Each time Van Helsing hypnotizes her at sunrise or sunset, she speaks in a voice that does not feel entirely her own, describing rushing water, the creak of wood, and the cold darkness of a coffin. Jonathan watches her closely, torn between hope and fear. He sees the strength in her eyes, yet he cannot ignore the faint shadow creeping across her face. The mark on her forehead burns whenever Van Helsing uses the sacred wafer to protect her, a painful reminder that the curse is tightening its grip. Still, Mina refuses to be left behind. She insists that her mind is their greatest weapon, and Van Helsing agrees, even as it breaks his heart to risk her soul. Dracula senses the pursuit. Through the bond, he becomes aware that he is no longer the hunter but the hunted. His thoughts sharpen with fury, yet beneath it lies desperation. For centuries, he ruled the night without challenge, but now time itself is turning against him. The sun feels closer, the earth less welcoming. The men destroying his resting places in England have stripped him of safety, and only Transylvania offers a chance at survival. Van Helsing and Mina reach the castle before nightfall. The fortress looms above them, ancient and scarred, its towers rising like blackened bones against the sky. Mina feels a terrible familiarity as she looks upon it, as if she has stood there before in another life. Van Helsing surrounds the castle with protective circles, using sacred symbols to seal the entrances. He leaves Mina within one of these circles, instructing her not to step beyond it no matter what she hears or feels. Night falls quickly. Wolves howl, drawn by the prison. The dawn breaks slowly over the mountains, pale light spilling across the snow as if the world itself is cautious after what has passed. The wind settles. The wolves retreat. For the first time in centuries, the land around Dracula's castle feels quiet, emptied of a presence that once bent it to fear. Van Helsing kneels beside Quincy's body, closing his eyes with reverence. There is sorrow in every face, but also relief. The nightmare is over. Mina awakens weak but alive, the burning mark on her forehead gone. She feels different now, lighter, as though a weight she did not fully understand has finally been lifted from her soul. The connection to Dracula is gone completely. His voice, his sorrow, his hunger have vanished, leaving behind only memory. Jonathan holds her close, grounding her in the present, grateful beyond words that she is still herself. They bury Quincy beneath the open sky, marking the grave with simple dignity. Arthur, broken by the loss of Lucy and now Quincy, stands silently, his grief carried with the restraint of a man who has seen too much death. Seward looks older than he did weeks before, his faith in pure reason forever changed. Van Helsing speaks softly, not as a scholar or hunter, but as a man honoring courage. Quincy, he says, did not die fighting a monster. He died saving love, and that matters more than any victory. The journey home is slow and reflective. Mina regains her strength with each passing day, though the memories never fully fade. She writes constantly, documenting everything, believing that truth is the strongest defense against darkness. Jonathan supports her, no longer haunted by helplessness. He stood against the thing that once imprisoned him, and he survived. Van Helsing knows his work is not finished in the world, but Dracula's end marks something important. Proof that even ancient evil can be confronted. Proof that faith and reason together are stronger than either alone. He parts from the group with affection and